answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Put the kids to bed. Turn down the lights. Close the door. Now, buckle in and open your mind for the Roundtable Podcast with your hosts, Shogun and Rhodesian.
You're listening to the Roundtable Podcast with your host, Shogun, and special guest, AinSoph.
Thank you. Welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. This is our fourth recording of the day. I think it is January 31st, and we are recording a podcast today with my friend and comrade AinSoph. AinSoph bought the web domain for the Roundtable Discord server. Check us out on Discord. He also volunteered his web development skills to make the website. Very nice guy, very unique and somewhat tragic story, but he has a remarkably positive outlook, so we're going to get into that today, and he's a bit of an inspiration in the regard of his attitude. Really shows you that we don't have any excuses to complain. So that being said, first of all, AinSoph, can you tell the people where they can find the Roundtable website? What is our domain name again?
Sure. The website can be found on www.theroundtablediscord.com, and the forum is on discuss.theroundtablediscord.com. So if you just go to the main website, you should be able to find links to the other one as well. And we're currently building it out right now, so it'll take a few more days and it should be up and running to its full effect.
Thank you, sir. Well, welcome here. We're going to get into your life, but I think we will start with the core of the issue. So I hope you don't mind me getting to this. But can you tell us about the circumstances that led to the amputation of your foot?
All right. So I developed diabetes in 2001. That was due to a drug-induced psychosis. They gave me antipsychotic medication. I gained and ballooned to an excess of 160 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds. But after losing basically down to 145 kilos, which I'm now floating at, the diabetes kicked in. So the diabetes wasn't the reason I lost my foot, my right foot. It was because I stepped on a bush of thistles, prickles, double Gs, whatever you want to call them, thorns, and they carpeted both my feet. When that happened, it took about a couple of hours each foot to remove all the little infected thorns, so they were a little poisonous. I ended up losing my left big toe from that directly. Now, when they removed my left big toe at the hospital's like a petri dish. I contracted an MRSA in the hospital operating theatre, which then infected my body, and thus my right foot started to get infected as a result of the operation on my left foot. So then again, another operation on my left foot, I got my heel scooped out, made the infection worse again, got to my right foot, and that's when my right foot was taken off because it collapsed. I developed Charcot foot, and lo and behold, I'm still got an ulcer on my left foot, which the doctors want to remove as of now. They want to remove it now, and I basically denied them. I denied them to remove it. So the doctor said you're either going to be very sick and probably come in and out of hospital quite often and will turn out in death. But if we remove your foot, you could have some sort of quality of life. But I don't see it that way. I see it that it may make my life worse in the immediate amount of time. So I'm pushing the operation off as much as I can so that I can get a better housing that is wheelchair accessible, because currently I'm living on a house with stilts and it's very hard to get around, and closer to the city, which is closer to amenities and hospitals and services that I need to be able to survive in a wheelchair without both legs. So I'm waiting for that to happen, and that's about 8 months away. If I can push off for 8 months, then I'll go for the operation, and everything will be back to normal, be hunky-dory, and I'll be right as rain. That's it. That's my legs.
Wow. So you've essentially lost one foot. You're facing the prospect of losing the other. The doctors are telling you have to have it amputated, but you're not willing to do that. So you're taking a bet that you will be able to recover somehow.
That's right. Exactly right. Some people have made suggestions on how to...
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Some people have made suggestions on how to recover from the infection, from ZMCs or something like veterinary strong antibacterial sort of creams, wrapping my foot. If that was available, I'm not a conspiracy theorist as much as I was. I think that the hospital or the doctors would have suggested something like that to remove the infection in the bone, because I've got osteomyelitis in my left foot. So the infection in the bone, very hard to get rid of. Only thing is to chop away at the bone, but then I'll have nothing to support my weight. And yeah, that's the result.
So I do have to say this, right? For my own ease of conscience, I do have to make my own recommendations if I can. Please do get some tea tree oil, all right, extract, and then the tincture, and then also oil of oregano. And then you're going to need to take the oil of oregano orally every day, and also put the oil of oregano all over your foot, and also the tea tree oil. So the tea tree oil is topical, the oil of oregano is topical and oral. And as a guy who does a lot of training in bacteria-covered fucking mats, and you get sores and cuts on your hands and your feet, you get ringworm, you get staph, the staph gets inside you. Well, oil of oregano will save lives, all right? I know it saved mine. And tea tree oil as well will cure these infections. So it can't hurt. It could help. It's worth a try.
Absolutely. If that is used in situations such as what you've said, like on the mats, and so you take it because you can contract a lot of these infections while doing MMA, mixed martial arts and contact sports, you don't want to get blood splattered over your mouth or something, and I suppose you've had that experience by the looks of it, so yeah, I'll definitely give it a try.
Yeah, it really won't hurt. It will only add to whatever regimen of treatment you're on. I'm not saying alternative it to what you're doing, but I'm just saying add it to what you're doing. So take that oil of oregano orally as much as the max allowed dose, put it also topically, also use the tea tree oil topically, and you might just save that foot. You might just.
Yeah.
Worth a try.
Yeah. That'll be a bonus.
So that being said, yeah. So you're thinking you're going to get. Do you have one prosthetic foot already?
I do not, and that's because I'm overweight. And doctors said that I need to stand on my remaining foot for 20 minutes without any aid. And since I want to amputate it, that's unlikely. So I need to either lose my weight and get my heel to sort of close over. Once they do that, then they'll give me a prosthetic. But I'm sort of heading in the other extreme.
I see. So how are you feeling? I mean, obviously you sound pretty cheerful. I would be losing my shit. The things you're describing sound horrific to me. Bone infections, losing feet, losing the other foot. I mean, I have my own problems, but my body is okay. And I can't imagine how hard it must be to not have feet, not be able to stand or walk. I mean, I know what it's like from injuries temporarily, but how have you coped with this? I mean, how hard has it been?
People think, as you said, that I'd be struggling a lot, and the only thing that I'm losing my shit over is not being able to take a shit by myself. Excuse my pun and my wording there. I need assistance going to the bathroom, only because to transfer from my wheelchair to a commode, and the sort of bathroom we have, it's one of those toilets, very slim, and it's a small room, and my wife needs to push me into the toilet room. I feel that it's a loss of my dignity and a loss of my independence as being human. Eating, sleeping, and going to the bathroom is one of the human conditions which everyone should have free access to, right? And when one of those things gets taken away or makes it very difficult, you start losing a bit of yourself. So honestly, that's the only thing that bothers me, and it may seem trivial, but for me, that's a big thing. It's difficult also for me to go for showers, so I go over the kitchen sink and bathroom sink, and I wash myself with baby wipes as well as detergents and soaps and whatnot. So I do that a couple of times a week. It's the reason why I can't have showers is because our shower in the house we're in a very old house, sits on top of a bathroom. A bathtub, and it's very difficult to have a shower standing up, let alone being in a wheelchair and trying to have a shower there. So yeah, I wash myself over the bathroom and kitchen sink.
I see.
Mm.
So what does the future look like for you? What was the process of foot amputation like? Like, how do you go through that? Like, what happens when they take your foot off?
It was pretty instant. I was fine 1 minute, and in 2 days my foot collapsed due to the rotting away of the bone and the charcoal foot. And so I didn't have time to process it, but they said it was an emergency, they need to take it off, otherwise it could be detrimental to my full body health. When they took it off, the first thing I remember was coming out of the operation and the excruciating pain that I was feeling. It was unbelievable. It's like, you know, you get a pain and you can't turn it off. Like, you know, you got some reprieve on something like stabbing, like kicking your toe or getting a cut. You know that it's going to heal up after the shock. But this was a continuous gnawing pain in my leg that I couldn't get rid of, and I started to scream out. So it hurts. And next thing I know, I felt like I was falling into a ditch. I found out later that it was ketamine, and they were giving me enough ketamine for about 30 units per hour, where the average should be less than 10. Yeah, it was supposedly 3 times the amount of ketamine that they would give to someone else, but I was still complaining when they were giving me, 15, 20, 25. After the joyous bliss of the ketamine experience, I went to the recovery lounge. My wife was there. My daughter came and visited me a couple of days later. I had that time to think about certain things. I'm more positive now than I was back then. Just because, I'm able to think straight, and I'm able to see the reality for what it is. I've got no foot and I may not have another one. But imagine having no foot and having these operations whilst at the same time having schizo-affective disorder, which is what my initial condition was. Yeah, that bothers me more than my physical condition, because if you haven't got if you have a computer with a malfunctioning operating system, the computer won't work, regardless if you've got no mouse, no keyboard. A malfunctioning operating system full of viruses and gunk, like I would call schizophrenia in the brain or the mind. Yeah, the computer won't work, and neither will I. If I wouldn't work if my mind wasn't all there, right? So it may be as a result of my medication that I'm taking that I'm finding it all right having my leg amputated. Say if I wasn't having antidepressants or antipsychotics or other things like that, I probably wouldn't be able to cope with it as I'm coping with it now. So might be a bonus. Sorry for rambling on, guys.
No, that's okay. So would you be comfortable talking about your experience with schizo-affective? What was your first episode?
Absolutely.
How did it come about? Absolutely.
It's my favorite topic, actually. I even wrote a book about it. I called it Skilled Psychosis, Mind Control Out of Control. I've had rewritten it twice, and it's about my life under psychosis or schizophrenia. In 2000, and in the year 2000, I was working for an internet security company. At the peak of my life at the time, having my own place, had a girlfriend. I was working 2 jobs, but other than delivering newspapers, I was working in internet security, like chasing hackers, removing Trojan horses from remote systems, and it was an awesome job. And December 31st, 2000, I took an ecstasy pill, and it was the most joyous experience I've ever had. The downside is that I wanted another one, but the person who I got it off didn't have any more, so I went to someone else, and it may have been a mixed concoction of different pills, but that second pill just totally went the other way. It shattered my mind, shattered my life. I was in the fetal position for about 6 hours straight in the nightclub, just rocking backwards and forwards, paranoid about everything, even my best friends thinking they were undercover cops, that the whole night was a setup, that people were spiking my drinks, so they were offering me water because I was dehydrated, and they could tell that I was unwell. And I would think that the bottled water that they were giving me was spiked, so I wouldn't have any of that. And it just went downhill from there. So I started seeing things on TV in relation to that night, that from the morning, because it was New Year's, people making comments, and I thought they were speaking about me, and it was very, very schizophrenic. It was very schizophrenic. None of it, of course, is true. Now I believe that. But that did lead me down a path of conspiracies. Researching the drugging led me to find out about groups like the Illuminati, Scientology, Freemasonry, just the occult, and whether I was involved in any sort of way that they would come out to get me. That's what a paranoid mind does. It tries to put them into a space of sort of urgency, whether it's beneficial or malevolent. So I then followed the work of this guy called Stuart Swerdlow. He's in the United States, and he was the first person that I came across talking about the Illuminati. I had been friends with him for about 15, 16 years. I stopped speaking with him a couple of years ago. He was apparently a Montauk boy, which involved time travel, genetic manipulation, mind control, and programming. And I studied everything under what he was proposing. And he told me that the Illuminati drugged me, sort of hook, line, and sinker. Oh, wow, they let me, and he told me that I was programmed from a child, that I was important in the future, that I would help facilitate the New World Order, that I would have two more children. I already have a daughter. That I would have 2 boys. And, that was entertaining for a while, but now I look at myself, I've got no legs. I don't see myself ever leaving my wife. I don't ever see her getting sick and dying. I don't see myself having another relationship to have more children, because we can't now. She's had a triple ligation and I've had a vasectomy. So if that's not true, then what else wasn't true? And, he painted this picture of me sort of projecting my being as being someone who's going to be doing these fascinating things, yet they're untrue. So he was feeding my delusions of grandeur, feeding my paranoia, feeding my want to be acknowledged, and my want to be something of this world. But for whether it was monetary gain or not, I'm not certain, because he didn't get much money out of me. But I don't know. I just don't get it. That's why I don't understand why he would go to that length to foretell my being, my future, when there's no monetary gain out of it, you see. So I pulled away from that. I studied Scientology for a little bit. I left that due to the naysayers and sort of finding out that there was a bit of truth in them. And also Freemasonry. I joined Freemasons in 2013. 2012. Was there for about 1.5 years, 2 years. I reached Master Mason 3rd degree. But I didn't pay my dues after that, so I never received the authority and authentication of being a 3rd degree Master Mason. But I did go through the ceremony for it. So after my episode of psychosis in 2001, I met Pauline, my wife, at a rehabilitation clinic, recovering to go back into the, it's called living skills, so going back into society, you're learning to interact with people, learning how to cook, maintain yourself and whatnot. And she took a liking to me. Her surname was Croft, so I had this sort of idea that, Lara Croft, the first movie based on the Illuminati, oh my God, she's put there to be with me. So my liking for her was delusional, but in saying that, we fell in love naturally anyway, and have been together since 2001. So it's like married since 2004. So what's that? 16 years married, 19 years together, 18 years together, and we have a daughter, beautiful 16-year-old, who's learning how to drive. Knows that her father is sick. She calls me Daddy Locan La Cabeza, which means Daddy crazy in the head. And we just make a joke out of it. I don't mind. And yeah, so that's basically what my life summed up.
Well, I'm glad that you're in relatively good spirits. It's great that you have a woman in your life who's standing by you, and I'm somewhat envious of you having, a daughter, as I'm myself, a child. So I'm happy that you have those good things going on in your life. I'm sorry you've had such hardship. You said you were, in fact, a third-degree Mason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be a conspiracy theory roundtable podcast if we didn't get into that a little bit. What attracted you to the craft?
The conspiracy behind it. That's actually what made me research it. And because I didn't know anyone in Freemasonry, and I just learned from what I read on websites and books and magazines, and I had to go to the lodge monthly for 6 months and sit outside during the whole ceremony process without being invited in. And once I did that, as I said, for 6 months, they saw me in good standing, and invited me into the lodge itself as entered apprentice. That was
Right.
That was it. The waiting 6 months was that was agony.
So what can you tell us about Masonry? What has your experience been with it? Like, how has it changed your life? What have you gained from it?
I find that the lodge that I went to are a bunch of good old men getting together to find a reason to have a beer once a month. My wife laughs because she went to the south, which is the kitchen in the lodge where we get together to have food and drinks. They are really good people. Like, I don't get it. People say once you get to the 33rd degree, you've got to pledge allegiance to Satan or Lucifer, and I'm like, well, maybe, but I don't see it from where I stood. Yeah, so there are secrets, but they're not secrets as such. They're secrets of understanding and knowledge and wisdom, rather than something that's kept from the world. It's just because they were there back in the day, they just carry on that knowledge forward. And I suppose they consider it secretive because they want to keep a lid on things. I don't know. I don't know what the reasons are for it. But, there's no goat sacrifice. There's no children dismembered or anything like that. And up to the 3rd degree Masonry anyway, supposedly it's the Blue Lodge where I was. It's not considered, like, let's say, like in the Scottish Rite, where you get up to 32nd degree and the 33rd honorary degree. The Blue Lodge only goes up until 3rd degree Mason anyway. And then you got the Red Lodge that goes a bit further up in the York Rite. And the Red Lodge is called the Knights Templar Knights Templar Lodge, out of all things. And it's basically the ceremonies there are an allegorical story of progression from being a Mason to changing the way of life to be a better person and be better who you are. So the Blue Lodge is supposed to be to see you for who you are, the true reality of who you are, and removing all the crap out of your life. Once you reach the Red Lodge, that's when you start building new attributes and new characteristics to being a better person. Now, if you're going to be a better person and you're progressing through the Red Lodge, why would you backtrack and believe the conspiracies that evil at the 33rd degree if you're trying to be a better person. You don't become a better person by doing evil things or malevolent things, right? So that's about as much as what I can say about Freemasonry. I met a lot of good gentlemen. There's a good reason to have a beer at the end of the night once a month. But that was my reason for joining, because it was based on a conspiracy that I wanted to find out for myself.
I see. Interesting. So maybe I'll just ask you two basic questions I can kind of throw by every guest. The first one will just be, are you religious at all? What is your spiritual orientation?
Yep. I'm a panentheist. Not a pantheist, but a panentheist. I believe that God is everything, including physical reality, and interpenetrates it, but also beyond physical reality. So the unknown, the darkness where the light comes from, is also God. Everything is God, and we are within its framework. So time exists for a reason. It's to allow the eternal source to know everything in the physical sense, and allows time and space to know what an apple tastes like. So you can tell someone what an apple or orange tastes like, but they don't know what it tastes like until they taste it themselves. So consider me being the orange or the apple, and I'm experiencing through, and the God, the eternal creator, the spirit, is experiencing reality through Rodrigo. And I then meet Shogun, and that's the eternal creator experiencing reality through Shogun. And therefore, when we interact, it's actually just the mind of God experiencing itself through someone else. So we're just continuing an interaction feedback model so that it can know itself. So that's why I believe that the eternal creator, like the Most High, and I know some people are going to hate me for saying this, but the Most High doesn't care what choice you make, whether it be murder, rape, horrific things. It doesn't care, because it needs to know what it's like to experience those things. However, out of virtue, at a lesser degree, a more higher leap in understanding is through love and acceptance. So unconditional love is, like, let's say, the highest energy that you can entertain, whereas mundicide, which is the death of a planet or killing a civilization, is like really down on the lower grade of spectrum of things. So that's where I see myself in relation to the eternal creator. Now, Yahweh or Jehovah, lesser deities that were created within physical reality, but are not the God who created them. I don't believe that they are the gods that created themselves. That they are deities which have certain personality traits to create planets and even galaxies and even universes. It could go to that degree. For them to experience the creator from a certain angle and perspective. But the true unknowable God, no one knows what it's like, what it is like, its mind. And that's what I can say about that. That's my...
Great answer. Second question, aliens, UFOs, what's your take on this phenomenon?
Yeah, they exist, but just as, we've got billions of planets out there. Under my study under Stuart Swerdlow, he named a lot of races that intermingled with Earth, like Alpha Draconis, were the draconian reptilian beings. It's been a while since I've studied that, but Sirius, from Sirius A and Sirius B, they intermingled with Egypt and also Tibet. So Sirius B was Tibet, Sirius A was Egypt, and the Hebrew language came from the Sirius A beings. There very are this alien races that supposedly seeded the Earth and mixed with early humanoids. I don't believe they are around now. Sorry, NSA. Since '69, it's been terrestrial flying objects, so human craft. I still think that, yes, maybe the Draconians and the Orion Confederation may be in allegiance and trying to take over a New World Order. I do believe in a New World Order being trying to be implemented, but I don't think it's all aliens. I think the horrificness of this world can be attributed to human beings, and we're just horrible creatures in general. I wouldn't put it on just on an alien species just for the sake of giving them a bad name so we can give ourselves a good one. Humans are despicable creatures.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we're going to open up the mics for any crowd participation or questions.
Sure.
So it's not even really a question, it's just you have an audience here, maybe a few hundred people, maybe someday more will see this episode. So what message would you like to get out to the wider roundtable and community and beyond?
Geez, didn't even think of that one. That's my modus operandi for life. Okay, so regardless what situation you go through, whether it's a divorce, losing someone in the family through death, losing a limb, having mental illness, there's always going to be a day in the future that's going to be a bit more beneficial than the day currently is. So today is better than yesterday, tomorrow is better than today. And it'll always be on the improve. You just can't give up. Regardless what you go through, failures aren't failures. They're only stepping stones to success. And you can gain great experience through failure. It shows you what not to do when you're trying to achieve something. So, regardless what you've been through, always acknowledge that someone else has also gone through that and worse, and even not as bad as you. But what I believe you should do. So here's the thing with regards to God and the eternal creator. Look in the mirror, see the creator. Look at your wife, see the creator. Look outside and look at things and see the creator. Because it's the creator that experiences everything from different versions of itself. So if you have a good experience and a good attitude towards life, things will come to you with a good attitude and good experiences through your life.
Thank you. That was an excellent statement. So now we're going to open. I want to thank you again, AinSoph, for everything you've done for the server, the web domain, the website development, the ideas you brought forward. All very appreciated, and for your time today. So does anyone here wish to either ask a question to AinSoph, make a comment, or simply open up the floor to any further freestyle podcast contribution?
AinSoph, do you believe in law of attraction, as in you attract good things and good things comes to you?
I do, but not in the way that it's put in through The Secret. Basically, the law of attraction, in my understanding, is that energy and like attracts like. So energy needs to meet up with equal energy. So the more intense something is for you, the more you'll attract. So, for example, you can't just willingly say, I want a bike, and then forget about it. That won't manifest. What you need to do, supposedly, and I haven't tried it myself because I can't ride a bike, but if you can visualize riding that bike and feeling the bike and visualize and feeling, it's more about how you feel about what you want to attract rather than what you think, and that's what manifests closer to you. But also, it's not just a handout. You'll probably be given opportunities as stepping stones to get what you want in through the law of attraction sort of sense. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Sorry.
That's right.
So it's like you yeah. Is that mean that you imagine, you mental picture the things that you want, and then you work towards getting it instead of like waiting for it to happen to you?
Absolutely. You need to work for it, and even just a mental affirmations, and not affirmations as such, because you can't wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to be the president of the USA, and it's not going to happen. So what you need to do is ask yourself some logical questions. You need to ask questions. So when you wake up in the morning, you say, what do I need to do today to become the president of the USA? And then if you keep repeating that question, your mind will start to think of ways to, make that manifest. But you can't just say, I am going to be the president. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to ask the question for your mind to entertain it and to get a grasp on the manifestation of reality in the sense that you want. Because it's a two-way street. You're not just getting a handout. You got to put your effort into attracting it. And I suppose that's what the elite do. They may use Luciferian magic and satanic magic to achieve things a lot faster than the average person, but that's an interesting question. Thank you, Princess.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else?
One more question. I have one more question. Like, how is your wife dealing with everything that happened to you?
Yeah, we've prepared for my death, to be honest. She's dealt with it. She's just, it's more or less trying to find a way for our daughter to deal with it. She doesn't live with us. She lives with her grandparents, my wife's mother. And it may seem a bit of a cop-out, but I don't want her seeing me degrade the way that I have been. So if I start to improve, that's a different story. But my wife is dealing it the best she can. She recently went for a scan because she was getting scanned for possible lung cancer. She was coughing up a lot of blood and a lot of meat in the blood, but we found out through the scan that it's not coming from her lungs, it's coming from her stomach. So last night she was very sick, nauseous, and I told her to go to the hospital, and she didn't listen to me, but she's feeling better now, but it may be a stomach issue. So she's more concerned about herself being put into a hospital, not because of her being in hospital, but because who's going to be here for me? And that's a tough one. I wouldn't be able to do things for myself.
Yeah. Do you have other support system from other family members?
Yes, I do. I've got my mother. She lives about 100 kilometres southwest of where I am. She lives in the city of Perth, Western Australia. And my brother. He's 56, but he's going through a lot of trauma dealing with me at the moment. He can't handle it. He cries all the time. He's 56 and he cries over his younger brother because he thinks I'm going to die soon. He's just very scared, and because of the way he was behaving, break up with his girlfriend of 3 years. And I'm like, oh man, don't worry about me. I said, just live your life, and just because he's very empathic. He feels everyone's emotions, and 56, and it just makes me feel bad because he's feeling bad. So I do have the support, family support, but I also have good support from the Australian government. So I mentioned before about housing. I'm moving closer to the city. We've got the Department of Housing, or Homes West, as it's called here in Western Australia. And they'll provide me a free home in about 8 months' time. I'm on the priority listing. And I also got what's called the NDIS, on the National Disability Incentive Scheme. And that's $50,000 worth of equipment per year. So good wheelchair, electronic wheelchair, maybe exercise bike for my arms. I'm just slack. I haven't gone to filling out the forms for that one yet. But it might be a good idea too. If people can see me doing something about my situation, then they're more likely to assist me in other areas too. What I really need is a car. I've got a car, but it won't travel the 100 kilometres needed to get down to Perth. It'll break down, I'm pretty sure, on the way there. So we travel lightly, maximum 40 km an hour around the city here. to go to the pharmacy because my wife and I are on opiate withdrawal medication. Initially, my wife was on what's called Suboxone or buprenorphine, and I would steal some. And when she realized I was stealing it, she started to share it with me, and then I became addicted. And then I went to the doctors and said, all right, yeah, we're going to have to put you on it. So I ended up being on it myself as well. So that's how that came about. So I'm on opioid withdrawal medication, and I need the transport to go down to the pharmacy to dose every 4 days. Need to go down there. And if the car breaks down, that'll be horrific. And no one wants to, like my mother or my brother wants to help getting a car. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, couldn't you hire someone to like bring the medicine to you instead
No,
of you going there?
no, I have to go there legally because it's a Class A drug. They are the pharmacy. I have to be at the pharmacy and actually have it in my mouth and let it dissolve for 10 minutes before I'm allowed to leave the pharmacy. I mean, I have a good rapport with my pharmacist. She comes outside of the car park and doses me whilst I'm sitting in the car because it's just a hassle climbing up the, getting the wheelchair to go up the ramp because it's on 2 stories. So, yeah, it's... yeah, I can't get anyone to come out and give me the medication, unfortunately.
Oh, thank you for talking to me.
You're welcome, Princess.
I hope everything goes well for you.
I'm pretty sure it will. I'm pretty sure it will.
I'm in for that.
Just got to feel it.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mr. AinSoph?
Yes, I missed a good chunk of the conversation, but I was curious. You're wanting to move closer to the city. Are you looking at any certain district in particular, or what's your price range, or how's that going?
Yeah, so with the Department of Housing Works, we have to choose a district, and we're choosing the Armidale district, which I don't know whether people know much about Western Australia, but the Armidale district has about 13 suburbs around the area, around the vicinity. Pricing range, nothing over $200 a week, Australian, but with the Department of Housing, we pay 25% of our income. So if I get a $50,000 income, I've got to pay, what is it, $12,500. Do you know what I mean? For rent. So it's for the $800 income. If I get $800 income per fortnight, it'll be $200 per fortnight on rent, which is good because that's $100 a week. It's considerably less to get to pay Homes West for Homes West housing, and they do good homes. Like the properties out there are really state of the art, especially for people who have got physical condition problems.
And I don't know if this question was asked because girlfriend called, but what about prosthetic limbs?
Yeah, prosthetic for my right foot I can't get at the moment because I need to be able to stand on my left foot for 20 minutes unaided, and because I've got a huge hole in my heel, which means I can barely stand on it at all, they won't give me a prosthetic because of my weight. The only way that will do it is if they amputate my left foot, then they'll give me a double prosthesis. But that's apparently even a lot harder still with my weight because, trying to not only stand up with a weight, you've got to coordinate, you've got to balance, and it's very, very foreign to be able to do that on 2 legs straight off the bat. I mean, it doesn't mean it's impossible, but no, I can't at this stage.
Well, I just want to say you are a remarkable person. This was a wonderful podcast, really interesting story, really interesting ideas, sort of good philosophy, good attitude. Inspiring, kind of horrific, to be honest. I'm sure I'm not the only one who finds your story kind of disturbing in the sense that you're a good person who has had such horrible things happen to you. But
Can I stop you there, Shogun?
inspiring.
Can I stop you there, Shogun? You said, good person because of considering all these things that have happened, but the reason my attitude is the way it is because of these things that have happened. Like, before 2001, I was a jerk, mate. Like, you know, most teenagers are, but I was one of the worst people you'd ever want to come across. You know, just, I'm not going to say because I'm very embarrassed by the nature of my personality prior to being drugged. It's humbled me in such a way that I see myself not as the what do you call it? I'm not that I'm flawed just like everybody else, and I'm not superfluous to things happening to me. So these things are what make a person. I'm not saying that at all the time, you know, it makes me a better person or other people a better person, but those things that have happened to me made me a better person. That's what I've got to say with that. Thanks, Shogun.
Thank you, sir. So that being the case, I think this was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. If you ever want to do another one or another event of some kind, we can always set that up anytime. Same goes to anybody on the server. You want to do your own one-on-one interview or podcast or special event or debate, you can always hit up my DMs or whatever, and we'll set it up. In the meanwhile, I think we'll call it a podcast there. Make sure you join us on the Roundtable Discord server. Please do check us out on all your favorite social media platforms. Check out the website that Mr. AinSoph has put together for us. We're on GoFundMe, we're on Patreon, we're on YouTube, and we will soon be on Podcast Addict, Podbean, SoundCloud, and Twitch. So keep an eye out for all that, and the upcoming web store should be all up within a month. Until then, thank you very much to the live audience, the recorders, and especially our special guest, AinSoph2197. And let's jump down to the Roundtable voice chat for a freestyle hangout. Thanks, everybody.